All right, here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. As always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. It is a beautiful Friday, August 22nd, and we have some breaking news to get to here on the show as the San Francisco 49ers have made a second trade in the span of 3 days. Injuries piling up on this roster, and San Francisco has made the necessary moves in order to address some of the issues that they have at some of these positions, but also bring in some players who could help them early in the year. And in the case of this trade for running back Brian Robinson, hopefully he can be an impact number 2 back behind Christian McCaffrey for the entire duration of the 2025 season. This is why you subscribe. This is why you give me a follow on social media. The 49ers Report has been humming, and a big reason for that, anytime I hop in front of the camera on the microphone, I want our coverage to be insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking. I want to give you really high-level content, but also I love getting ahead of things here on the show too, reading the tea leaves and thinking about my strategical roster building processes and having some foresight to see which moves the Niners can make. And the other day, talked about the possibility of San Francisco trading for Brian Robinson. The Commanders made him available, and I mentioned him as a potential trade target for San Francisco. The other day also talked about the possibility of the Niners trading for wide receiver Sky Moore. They end up trading for him as well. So lock us in, hit that subscribe button right now. Really do appreciate all of your support and everybody who continues to come back here for all of your Niners coverage right here on YouTube. As for the trade details, this news broken just moments ago. Prior to the clock hitting 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. out on the West Coast, the Commanders finalizing a trade to send running back Brian Robinson Jr., their starter for the last 3 years, to the 49ers. It is a 6th-round pick in 2026 going back to Washington. And this move was in the process of being made over the last few days. On Monday Night Football, Robinson and the Commanders came to a mutual agreement for him to not play in that game against Cincinnati because Washington was trying to make a trade come to fruition. It is very rare that at this point of the calendar year, with the regular season coming up here in just a couple of weeks, that a starting running back is put on the trade market. But why this came to fruition for Washington, they're going to move forward with Austin Eckler, the veteran, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who they are very high on, and a young group of running backs in that room. And of course, the Niners and the Commanders have communication prior to this move. Made the trade for Deebo Samuel during the NFL Combine back at the end of February, early March. And of course, they're making this move now. But Adam Peters, who is now the general manager for Washington, was the right-hand man for John Lynch in that Niners front office for several years. He actually came to San Francisco alongside John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan as kind of a package deal all the way back in 2017. He goes to Washington to run football ops and run that front office going into 2024. Bob Myers, another Bay Area connection, who was the great Warriors general manager for a long time for Golden State, helped Joshua Harris, the new Commanders owner, who stepped in for the fraud Dan Snyder, hire Adam Peters. And so that line of communication has been there. And now this is a couple of times in which the Niners and the Commanders have done business. Now, in addition to Washington wanting to go with a youth movement at that running back spot, why else was Brian Robinson made available? Just not really a scheme fit for what offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury wants to do. He comes from the Mike Leach Air Raid School of Offense, which runs a lot of 4 verticals, and Brian Robinson never really jived with that system. Last year, he still ran for more than 700 yards, and he had some success on the ground statistically, but eye test-wise, a little bit indecisive and hesitant, running in between the tackles. He is a physical specimen at that running back position. I mean, you look at Brian Robinson Jr., and you say to yourself, he is built, and he's a really talented guy. But for whatever reason, sometimes he second guesses himself when running in between the tackles. So that combined with the youth movement and him not being a good scheme fit for what Cliff Kingsbury wants to do is what made him expendable. And then the guy they call Bill in our nation's capital, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, the young running back, has really risen up the depth chart, and Washington really likes him. He popped during that Monday night game against Cincinnati in the preseason, and that was further evidence that the Commanders needed to move off of Brian Robinson Jr. here. Now, you look at his numbers, the first 3 years in the NFL. Interesting story in college, too, by the way. He is from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He stayed home to go to Alabama, but because Bama was so loaded at running back, he really had to wait his turn to be the feature back for the Crimson Tide under Nick Saban. And when he finally did get his turn, he made the most of it. And he had a very impressive 2021 season where he rushed 271 times, which led the country for 1,343 yards, 5 yards per carry. He led the country in touchdowns scored on the ground with 14, averaged 95.9 rushing yards per game. But prior to that, 165 yards rushing as a freshman, 272 year 2, 441 year 3, 483 year 4. Won 2 natties while at Alabama, but a 5-year college player who finally got those ops and those carries in 2021, and he really maximized those opportunities. He had nearly 1,700 scrimmage yards that year. Receiving-wise, he had 35 catches for 296 yards his final year at Alabama with 2 receiving touchdowns, so he can do that a little bit. Commanders used a third-round pick on him back in 2022. Year 1, 797 rushing yards, 205 attempts, 2 touchdowns. Year 2, 178 carries, 733 yards with 5 touchdowns. And then this past year, 187 carries, 799 yards, and 8 touchdowns. The yards per carry, you'd like it to be a little bit higher. 3.9 year 1, 4.1 year 2, 4.3 in year 3. And that could be to the indecisiveness running in between the tackles, which in Kyle Shanahan's outside zone scheme can be a little bit of a problem because you need to see hole, hit hole in this system. But it can also be the fact that he wasn't a good scheme fit for what Kingsbury wanted to do. There's also this as well. Analytically, Brian Robinson Jr., not the most sound player. These numbers coming from Warren Sharp. Despite facing the number 5 easiest schedule of run defenses last year, he ranked 27 out of 50 running backs in yards per carry at 4.3, 37 out of 50 running backs in explosive run rate at 6.5%, 35 out of 50 running backs in stuff rate at 20%. He was also 44th with 34% of his rushes for 1 yard or fewer. That was with him being the starter for Washington. With San Francisco, he is not going to be the starter for this ball club. Christian McCaffrey looks like the 2023 Offensive Player of the Year. That's eye test, and that's the accounts from guys like Trent Williams, who said that yesterday. And Christian McCaffrey is going to be the bell cow number 1 go-to back. But CMC has also missed 10-plus games in 3 of the last 5 years. And he's an older running back who last year only played 4 games, did not have a touchdown, had the bilateral Achilles tendonitis, and then he had the knee injury when he was starting to round into form when the snow was coming down against the Buffalo Bills. And so you have some worries about his durability. Isaac Guerendo, I've talked about this so much on the show, has been injured all throughout his entire football life. I mean, he's 6 foot 220 and he runs a 4.3, but he was hurt at Wisconsin. He was hurt at Louisville. He's been hurt with San Francisco. And so I think that's a big reason why the Niners are making this move here. And we'll see who takes on the $3.5 million in salary that I believe is guaranteed for Brian Robinson the final year of his rookie deal. But he is on an expiring deal. You don't have to worry about him as far as his compensation beyond this year if you don't want to, if you don't have any need or desire to bring him back beyond 2025, but you needed to make a move here for 2025. I mean, Jordan James is out with that finger injury. Again, Isaac Guerendo is always hurt, just came off that shoulder. You had Corey Kiner get banged up. Patrick Taylor is out for the year. And so just like you needed bodies at the wide receiver position, you needed another body at the running back spot. And Brian Robinson is a capable body, a starting running back who is now going to be your number 2. So Sky Moore, who the Niners traded for at wide receiver on Wednesday, might not be on this team in a month or two, right? But he can be used as a gadget guy. He can help you as a return guy on punt returns because he's very explosive in that regard. I'm looking forward to see how Kyle Shanahan can maximize him because I do believe that if you give him some gadget plays, end arounds, bubble screens, reverses, easy crossers, he can make an impact. With Jacob Cowing hurting his hamstring again, he might land on short-term IR or PUP to start the year. Basically, Sky Moore is your Jacob Cowing replacement. Brian Robinson, I think, vaults to RB2. And then who's RB3? Garendo, Jordan James. You fortify the depth at that running back spot, and you bring in a body here that you needed to bring in. I know some people have said, well, didn't they sign Jeff Wilson? Yeah, but look, Jeff Wilson is Jeff Wilson. He is not Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson is a very talented, capable, and still young back who doesn't have a ton of tread on the tires and is entering the final year of his rookie contract. You're getting a motivated player here who I really like his talent level when he's running up to his capabilities. When he is decisive, when he's using that big frame, churning those legs, he can be a really good back in this league. But again, not a great scheme fit for Washington. And for whatever reason, he was just hesitant running in that Washington offense. Now, it is a lot of spread concepts. It is much different than what Kyle Shanahan is doing here. And maybe that helps out Robinson. And we have seen Kyle Shanahan and Bobby Turner maximize this position, right? How many guys have had career years under Shanahan? Right? Matt Breida found success. Jeff Wilson found success. Raheem Mostert found success. Elijah Mitchell. We're talking about late round guys and UDFAs here who find success running in this offense. Jordan Mason, Christian McCaffrey won Offensive Player of the Year and was an All-Pro running in this offense. And so whichever backs they bring in, you have to trust the Niners' player evaluation and their player development specifically at the running back spot. And I think they're going to be able to maximize Brian Robinson Jr. here. So you trade a 6th-round pick for Robinson. That's a great move. You swap 2027 late-round picks to bring in Sky Moore. And so you're giving up pretty much nothing for these players. They're going to be able to help you at the very least in the short term for Sky Moore, long term this year for Brian Robinson, and you still maintain a lot of draft capital. Smart moves here for San Francisco, in my opinion, given all of the injuries that they've had at these positions because, boy, oh boy, they're certainly depleted. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're always ahead of the game here on the 49ers Report, and I'll catch you soon. Peace.